Hello, welcome to Self Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Chapter 3 Environment and Society. Look around you. What do you see? If you are in a classroom, you may see students in uniform sitting on chairs with books open on their desks. There are school bags with lunch and pencil boxes. Ceiling fans might be whirling overhead. Have you ever thought about where these things, school, clothes, furniture, bags, electricity, come from? If you trace their origins, you will find that the source of each material object lies in nature. Every day, we use objects whose production draws upon natural resources from around the world. The chair in your classroom may be made from wood with iron nails, glue, and varnish. Its journey from a tree in a forest or plantation to you depends on electricity, diesel, facilities for trade, and telecommunication. Along the way, it has passed through the hands of loggers, carpenters, supervisors, and managers, transporters, traders, and those in charge of buying school furniture. These producers and distributors and the inputs that they provide into chair manufacturing in turn use a variety of goods and services derived from nature. Try and map these resource flows and you will soon see how complex such relationships are. In this chapter, we will study social relationship with the environment as they have changed over time and as they vary from place to place. It is important to analyze and interpret such variations in a systematic way. There are many urgent environmental problems that demand our attention. To address these crises effectively, we need a sociological framework for understanding why they occur and how they might be prevented or resolved. All societies have an ecological basis. The term ecology denotes the web of physical and biological systems and processes of which humans are one element. Mountains and rivers, plains and oceans, and the flora and fauna that they support are a part of ecology. The ecology of a place is also affected by the interaction between its geography and hydrology. For example, the plant and animal life unique to the desert is adapted to its scarce rainfall, rocky and sandy soils, and extreme temperatures. Similarly, ecological factors limit and shape how human beings can live in any particular place. Over time, however, ecology has been modified by human action, which appears to be a natural feature of environment. Aridity or food proneness, for example, is often produced by human intervention. Deforestation in the upper catchment of a river may make the river more flood prone. Climate change brought about by global warming is another instance of the widespread impact of human activity on nature. Over time, it is often difficult to separate and distinguish between the natural and human factors in ecological change. alongside biophysical properties and processes that may have been transformed by human action. For example, the flow of a river and the species composition of a forest. There are other ecological elements around us that are more obviously human made. An agricultural farm with its soil and water conservation works, its cultivated plants and domesticated animals, its inputs of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides is clearly a human transformation of nature. The built environment of a city made from concrete, cement, brick, stone, glass, and tar uses natural resources but is very much a human artifact. Now, let us discuss social environments. Emerged from the interaction between the biophysical ecology and human interventions. This is a two-way process. Just as nature shapes society, society shapes nature. For instance, the fertile soil of the Indo-Gangetic floodplain enables intensive agriculture. Its high productivity allows dense population settlements and generates enough surpluses to support others. Non-agricultural activities giving rise to complex hierarchical societies and states. In contrast, the desert of Rajasthan can only support pastoralists who move from place to place in order to keep their livestock supplied with fodder. These are instances of ecology shaping the forms of human life and culture. On the other hand, the social organization of capitalism has shaped nature across the world. The private automobile is one instance of a capital commodity that has transformed lives and landscapes. Air pollution and congestion in cities, regional conflicts, and wars over oil and global warming are just a few of the environmental effects of cars. Human interventions increasingly have the power to alter environment, often permanently. The interaction between the environment and society is shaped by social organization. Property relations determine how and by whom natural resources can be used. For instance, if forests are owned by the government, it will have the power to decide whether it should lease them to timber companies or allow villagers to collect forest produce. Private ownership of land and water resources will affect whether others can have access to these resources or on what terms and conditions. Ownership and control over resources is also related to the division of labor in the production process. Landless laborers and women will have a different relationship with natural resources than men. In rural India, women are likely to experience resource scarcity more acutely because gathering fuel and fetching water are generally women's tasks, but they do not control these resources. Social organization influences how different social groups relate to their environment. Different relationships between environment and society also reflect different social values and norms, as well as knowledge system. The values underlying capitalism have supported the commodification of the nature, turning it into objects that can be bought and sold for profit. For instance, the multiple cultural meanings of a river, its ecological, utilitarian, spiritual, and aesthetic significance are stripped down to a single set of calculations about profit and loss from the sale of water for an entrepreneur. Socialist values of equality and justice have led to the seizure of lands from large landlords and their redistribution among landless peasants in a number of countries. Religious values have led some social groups to protect and conserve scared groups and species, and others to believe that they have divine sanction to change the environment to suit their needs. Now, let us wind up the session and thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self Learning Podcast.